What is up, guys? John Gray here, and today I'm going to talk to you about your income. Now, the reason I chose to talk about this today is because as I get closer to becoming debt-free, I'm thinking about more and more things I want to share with other people that made our journey more successful. So the closer we get, the more I want to share the mindset behind this process for us so that other people can try to apply that to their situations. But what we realized is that the way you think about your income can be the biggest detriment and the biggest factor in your success in regards to getting yourself out of debt and becoming wealthy. So let me explain that a little bit. So one of the things that I think people who take on payments, especially car payments and other things that they probably can't afford, is that they don't consider that as a detriment to their income. They look at the amount that they make per month and they say, I can or I can't make that payment. And a lot of people even consider how much they make annually as a status symbol for whether or not they can afford to do certain things, not necessarily how much money they have in their account. So as I'm sure all of you know, one of America's favorite things to borrow money on is cars. A lot of people, again, think that if they can afford the payment, they can afford the car. And I want to illustrate why that's not true. Not only is it detrimental to your wealth, but you are literally making money for the car industry that has tricked you into thinking this way. So the first thing I want to dispel right away is this myth around what it means to have a reliable car and how much a reliable car should cost. I've heard a lot of people say that if they get something that's under $10,000, they feel like it's going to break down all the time, they're going to have a bunch of problems. It's one of the greatest lies ever told by the auto industry. There are several cars that are under $10,000, under $7,000, under $6,000 that are perfectly reliable, and in some cases more reliable than your newer cars, depending on the make and model. Now, let me be clear, I'm not saying that every single old car is not going to break down on you. I'm just saying that all cars, anything with a motor on it, is going to have a chance of breaking down. So an old car that's well maintained is worth the cheaper price tag because it's older. That doesn't mean that it won't take you from A to B. It just means that it's been around longer. Now, the reason the auto industry has done this is because they know that they have to separate your connection between your income and wealth and make you think that what it means to afford a car is to always have a payment, because that's what it means to have something that's safe and reliable, which is just blatantly false. The truth of the matter is that most new cars lose 40% of their value within the first 5 years of you driving it. And all new cars are immediately worth less the very second you drive it off of the lot. But they've convinced you that all of that is worth it, and in turn gotten you to part with on average around $500 per month from your take-home pay. Let me just say that again. The average person buying a new car is paying around $500 a month for that car. Now, I know some of you take longer loan terms so that your monthly payment is lower, so it's more affordable. But in the long run, that's actually even worse than having a $500 car payment. The reason is interest. Because your loan term is longer so that you could get lower monthly payments, you're going to pay more money in interest than the person paying $500 per month. So you really didn't get that great of a deal. It might seem like it's more affordable month to month, but over the course of the life of the loan, you're going to end up paying thousands of dollars more than the other people who had a larger car payment, or the people who just paid for their car outright. So you're basically just making the automobile industry filthy rich by continuing to pay way more than the car's actual value because you didn't have the money when you originally went to purchase the car. But to be honest with you, that's not even the worst part. Cars lose their value like nothing else. As I mentioned earlier, cars lose about 40% of their value in the first 5 years that you drive them. So even if you had $10,000 to your name right now, it would essentially be buying a $10,000 car and turning that money into $6,000 in 5 years. Does that sound like a good investment to you? If I told you that you should contribute to your 401k every single month and that in 5 years it'll be worth a little more than half what you put in it, would you do it? Probably not. And that is the problem. See, we've made an exception for cars because they're nice and shiny and they're the things that we want. But we very seldom consider the financial impact when we decide to sign up for a 5, 6, 7, 8-year term on a loan and wonder why we end up broke and are living to paycheck. When you sign up for a car loan and you continually upgrade in car and never pay off the old car, you are signing up for car payments for the rest of your life. Some of you have gotten so used to paying a car payment that you haven't even considered what you're giving up. So let's do the math. Let's say your car payment is $400 a month. Now, 400 times 12 is $4,800 a year that you're giving to the automobile industry for your new car. Because most people never actually pay off their first loan, they usually buy a new car and have to continue to make payments on both the amount that they owed on the old car plus the value of the new car that they had to borrow. So that $4,800 a year, it's not going anywhere, but straight to the dealership. So let's say you have to pay that $4,800 a year for the next 5 years before ever hoping to even get close to pay off the value of that car. 4,800 times 5 is $24,000. 24,000, not 100,000. That's what you could have if you didn't have a car payment and you waited to get a car that you could afford and not just the car that you heard was safe. And that $4,800, that's what's being taken away from your income every year. So if you make $30,000, no, you actually made $26,000 or $25,000 that year. If you made $45,000, you actually made closer to $40,000 because the money that you take in is going right back out. So really, really think about that. If you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you feel like you don't have any wiggle room, or you feel like you're one disaster away from having it all come down on your head because your car is costing you your wealth because it's destroying the thing that can help you build wealth, which is your income. Now, let me be really clear. If you have a new car and you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're completely happy with your life, I'm not talking to you. This is for people who want to get out of debt but can't figure out where their money's going or why they can't seem to get ahead. It's not your income. It's the things that you're deciding to spend money on, especially if you're under $50,000 a year and you have a car that's worth half to 75% of what you make in 1 year. That's where your money's going. So do me a favor and just be really honest with yourself and ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth feeling like you can't afford to live because of the car that you have? Is it worth feeling like you'll never be able to save money or ever retire because of the car you have? Is it worth never being able to go on vacation without accruing more debt because of the car that you have? My answer to you, absolutely not. So please, if nothing else, question what you've been told about what it means to be a car owner and do the math for yourself around what you're actually spending on your car versus what it's worth, and do the math on the amount that you borrowed versus what you're actually going to pay in at the end of the day. You may just find that it's time to part ways with that brand new car that you just bought, because new doesn't automatically mean better, especially if it means you have to go into debt to get it. So as always, thank you guys for your time. Please let me know if you start reconsidering that new car. I would love to hear about it, and I will see you in the next video.